was like, well, I guess she's gonna stay, and then they're all gonna fall in love over this weekend. Yay. We found ourselves the plot of this film. Hey, Watchaholics, welcome back. Today, guys, we're gonna continue the month, because I said that this month I'm gonna be covering all the Netflix, Amazon Prime, Christmas amazingness that comes out. And so today we're going to be recapping and reviewing Christmas with you. And this lovely film, lovely I will say, stars Freddie Prinze Jr. and Aimee Garcia in our lead man and woman who fall in love. And guys, I will gladly say that I actually enjoyed this one. This one was really cute, and I can't wait to give you my full-on review and thoughts at the end. So let's get straight into the recap of this film. So the movie is basically set in New York City, where I am originally from. So of course, the moment they were in New York City, I about lost my beep because I love New York City. I love New York City at Christmas. But the movie basically starts off with Aimee Garcia, who plays a character named Angelina, and she's basically a singer who has been around for a long time now, but seems like all these other artists who are up and coming and younger are much more popular than she is. But she is still very busy and a very famous singer, and you can just tell that she is needing a break or just needs to just find her inner self again, and she's just tired of kind of being in the spotlight. It seems people are following her everywhere, there's pictures everywhere she goes, she's in her car, but she's just a little bit sad because it's a lot. I can only imagine what it must be like to be like just be followed around all day and just to hear chick, 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 like just camera shutters all the time. And this gives me a side note actually, because I was thinking about what I see, and usually whenever I see like celebrity pictures and things like that, I sometimes tend to see kids or even adults now, they wear headphones. And I always was wondering, like, why is everyone walking with headphones? And I'm like, oh, it's because they probably just don't want to hear the paparazzi and hear shutter flakes and stuff. Like, they'd rather just kind of like focus on their music and focus on where they're going, than instead of having to listen to like everywhere you go. Someone who's really big on that is what's her name? J-Lo's daughter. If you ever see pictures of J-Lo and her daughter out and about, she's always has headphones in, like always. I really enjoy that she was like a Latin star. She has all of her music's kind of like Spanglish. She has the phrases in English, and I'm here for the representation. Yes, I am Latina myself, so represent. I was glad. I saw that all throughout this movie, and I was very happy about that. She gets a call from the label, and I don't even know the guy's name. I think his name is Barry. He's like the guy in charge of the label, and basically he's just like, listen, we want you to come up with a new song, a brand new touch, a Christmas song. And she's like, a Christmas song? I don't want to do Christmas music, like what is this, like whatever, blah blah blah. So they just want her to release a single that's a hit for Christmas basically, and just to stop like rehashing the same of her stuff, which she tends to be doing a lot. And then forward on to meeting Freddie Prinze Jr. and his family. And Freddie Prinze Jr., y'all, Freddie Prinze Jr. is old. As soon as I saw him, I was like, Freddie Prinze, buddy, you are aging there, my friend. I mean, he is in his 40s. He's like in his late 40s, and I haven't seen him in a film in forever. And honestly, the only thing I could ever think of is She's All That. I know he's like in a million things, but She's All That is a staple to me, and he is old. But I will say that throughout the film, like after I took some adjustment, but after like 5 minutes of looking at his face, I was like, oh my god, boy still got it. Boy still got it. He is a handsome fella, and when he smiles, oh my god. He still got it. But basically, he does have a daughter. Her name is Christina, and she's a huge Angelina fan. Has posters in her room, loves her, sings her music, like absolutely loves her. And as I was watching this film, I was like, so is this like a new thing that like because I just watched Falling for Christmas, and it was like, okay, here's a single white dad who married a Latin woman who has a daughter who has curly hair and is a Latin girl. I'm literally like, okay, I understand we're trying to do the representation, but this is now the second Netflix movie that has like kind of like the same kind of vibe with like single dad married someone of ethnic culture, most likely Latin American, and now they have a daughter who's just like curly hair and speaks Spanish. But I mean, I like the representation. Don't get me wrong. This a long time ago would have just been a whole bunch of white people. But when you watch 2 movies in a row, it's like, oh, okay. We're going hard on that. We are going hard. Netflix, hard on the representation. Basically, we go back to Angelina in her, big penthouse, and she's just like, basically can't come up with a song. Like, she is at her piano, she just can't figure it out. She's like, what is going on with me? I can't figure it out. So she's on her like rooftop, and she ends up on this Instagram that is actually, I don't know if it's Christina's, I still don't know if it was Christina's Instagram or just like a fan account that grabs other people's stuff and puts it on there. Regardless, she finds it and she hears Christina singing a song that was basically one of the first songs that Angelina had written about her mother who had passed away, which is the same with Christina, they both have lost their mom. So they have that in connection. And Christina in the video is just very much of like, like, I love this song. It reminds me of my mom and we used to sing it all the time. And my Christmas wish is to meet Angelina. And, Angelina's reading it and she's just like, oh, like, that's so nice and whatever. So she kind of feels very connected and emotional while watching this girl talk about her and that song. So fast forward, we do find out that Angelina is in a relationship/fake relationship with the guy who actually is the soap opera star that Christina's grandma watches on TV. So they're like in a relationship, but it's actually like a fake relationship that they only keep for the public, for followers, which is sad because I'm pretty sure so many people do that in the business, but here we are. But basically they haven't broken up because they need to keep up their brand and keep up with the followers and get more followers for the brand and the image, whatever. So she's at a photo shoot, and basically like not everyone, basically Barry, the label guy, I'm going to call him Barry, the label guy, he basically just says like, hey, you were supposed to be on the cover of this shoot, but you're not going to anymore because they have like someone who's newer and younger basically, and they want her to be on the cover because, she's just not as relevant anymore. And she almost snaps, and she's just like, she leaves with her assistant, who I can't remember what the assistant's name was in this whole film. She was pretty much just like the assistant that's just like kind of the same in like every other film where like every celebrity, every artist has like an assistant. I don't know, like they don't really have like a huge role. Like their role is literally just to be like, hey, I think you like that guy. I think that guy likes you. Oh, and just kind of like snarky comments and stuff and kind of help guide them, but that's all they do. So she is just had enough. Angelina's like, you know what? I need to leave the city. We need to leave the city. We need to do something. I need to get away from all of this craziness and just try to like figure myself out. So she decides, she's like literally her assistant's driving, and she decides that she's going to go to meet Christina because she's like, hey, like, I know exactly where we should go. We should go and meet this girl, Christina. She's a huge fan of mine, and like, how awesome would it be to like give a fan like their Christmas wish? And that's very important for me to be with my fans because clearly they're the only ones who think I'm relevant. So she goes to her high school to go meet her. She does end up going to the school. They call Miguel, which is Freddie Prinze Jr. They call Miguel and they call Christina over to the principal's office, and they see her, and Christina freaks out because obviously it's like her celebrity crush. Like, oh my god, it's my favorite celebrities. It's like if Taylor Swift showed up at my school, like, or the Jonas Brothers. I would freak out. Or Zac Efron. I would freak out. Angelina says, hey, I really connected with you in your video, and I thought that I would make your Christmas tree come true. I know you wanted to take a selfie, so I'd love to take a selfie with you. So they take a selfie. It's all magical, yay. And then as I was watching, I was like, oh wow, there's a storm happening out there. I was like, oh, is that where this is going? And then literally like 5 seconds later, Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, yeah, you can't go home. You can't go driving in these roads out there. And I was like, well, I guess she's gonna stay, and then they're all gonna fall in love over this weekend. Yay. We found ourselves the plot of this film. She's like, okay, fine, I'll stay. And then they're like, oh yeah, you can stay at our place. And Christina's like, yeah, have dinner with us, stay with us. And she's like, okay. The assistant's like, are you sure you want to do that? She's like, yeah, let's stay there. I was like, oh God, this is going to be a fun time. So they go in the house and there's like this really, really funny scene. She's like in the car and she's wearing like these crazy like high heeled like shoes and she like puts plastic on them so she can walk in the snow. She's like, these are like Saint Laurent's. Like I got these in Milan. Like there's no way I'm going to get these like, all dirty. So it was pretty funny. She's just like walking like in this really funny way. Really, really funny. But eventually, she gets to the house and she goes up to Christina's room and they bond over the loss of their moms and how important they were to them. And they go in to eat dinner. And at first, like, Angelina's like, oh, no, I'm not going to be eating. Because there's, like, rice and beans and all these other, I think they're Mexican. I think. They don't really say, but I think they're Mexican based on like what they were making. It seems, but correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know all the cultures like that. But she pretty much is like, oh, I don't want to eat that much. There's a dress I'm trying to fit into, and the grandma's like, absolutely not. No wonder you're so skinny. Like you need to eat like more carbs and more fat. Like eat that. And then there's like this thing called paso. I forget what it was. Some sort of, it looked like a soupy thing. So she starts eating it, and then she gives in and she ends up enjoying like what she's eating, which is what Miguel had made. And they end up having like this like cute interaction where he's just like, oh yeah, like I have all the recipes, like I'll give you my number if you ever want like for me to make you food, like just let me know. And it's like super cute, and I was like, oh, we've got a connection. And this is when for me I was like, oh, okay, I'm buying this. I'm starting to buy it because I was just like, oh, I felt and I think, I'm not going to lie, I do think it's because Freddie Prinze Jr. he sells it in this film. He sells it. Now I have thoughts about them as like a couple, but he sells it for what for this movie. He didn't phone in, and I'll take it. Freddie. I'll take it. So they have this really cute movement, but then Christina kind of ruins it by being like, oh, well, she has a boyfriend. His name is Ricardo, whatever. And then that's when the grandma's like, oh my God, are you talking about the guy I watched my soap opera? Blah, 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 blah. So everyone's excited. But basically, eventually, Angelina does find the piano because Freddie is a musician, my friends. He is a music teacher at Christina's school, and he also is just like a musician like whenever he wants. He has a piano, he has a guitar, he plays music, right? So she finds the piano, they both start going over this song that she randomly finds that he's working on called Home is Where the Heart Is or something like that. And guys, this is when it starts. And this is one of the low bars of the film, or why I was like, oh, okay, guys. They have to awfully pretend to be making music together. So usually when people make music together at a piano, someone brings out a guitar and they start playing, or they start playing the piano and they start singing, and all those things happen. No, this movie was so bad at doing that because clearly both of its leads aren't actual singers or musicians. Now, I don't know if Aimee Garcia does sing in this, but I don't even know if that's actually her singing. Like, I don't even know if that's just, like, a voice that someone, like, is being put on, or if she's actually singing this music. But the parts where her and Miguel are playing together is pretty bad. Because not once do you ever hear Freddie Prinze Jr. even sing, or play a note, or play a guitar, or do anything related to music. It's kind of just, like, she's kind of, like, at the piano, and she's like, yeah, like, home is where the heart is. Oh, but no, but we can change it. Like, maybe if we go higher, the heart is... No, wait, do you mind if I change it? Never. Like, she plays, like, a couple keys, but that's about it. And I don't even know if that's actually her playing the keys. But it's pretty bad. So we're going to move on, because it's awfully bad, the pretending. But during this session together, she realizes that this song... could be the song, the Christmas song that she's been looking for, the news hit for her. So she asks Miguel to work on it with her. And he's like, well, why do you want to work with me? She's like, listen, I've been looking for like a Christmas song, and I've been really stuck, and this is it. I have a feeling this is it. Let's work on it together. You'll get royalties on it. You'll get half the pay. You can put it for Christina's college tuition, all that stuff. And obviously him thinking that, he's like, well, that would be really helpful. So they decide they're gonna write this song together. And yeah, the next morning comes up, and guys, this snowstorm, I mean, they could have made it worse. Like, anybody could have driven in this snowstorm. Like, they have a freaking nice ass car. They could have driven home perfectly fine. Like, I think they should have made the snowstorm a lot worse, in my opinion, to make it really seem like, oh man, can't get there. But like the next morning, it was just like, some snow? Could have been worse, in my opinion. Christina and Miguel are getting ready to go do the quinceañera, because also, big highlight, this is in the next week or two, in the movie time, Christina is turning 15, so she's going to have a quinceañera, which is a very big Latin American tradition for you to have a quinceañera. It's basically like a sweet 15. A lot of people in the States celebrate sweet 16s, but in Latin American cultures, it's a very big thing in Mexico. You do sweet 15, so quinceañera. So she's supposed to be having a big one, and they're gonna go and rehearse, but then Angelina's like, yeah, but we need to rehearse our song. And he's like, well, I kind of have to take my daughter to rehearse. So then she just decides, okay, fine, I'll just go with you and we can work on it there. So they go to like the venue where they're gonna do the party. They start working on the song. They add like little things, again, with the fake pretending to make music together. And then Angelina does end up helping Christina with her song for the quinceañera, because they are using her music to do a dance. So she teaches them like a little dance to do it, and it's super cute. Everyone's dancing. She gets in Miguel, and Miguel's just like dancing with his little white moves. It's really cute and hilarious, but very, very cute. And you see kind of like the connection happening between them, which is nice to see. And then at the end, Christina invites Angelina to her quinceañera. She's like, I really like if you'd go. And then Angelina's like, well, I actually have a gala next weekend. I'd love for you guys to go. I'm going to be singing my song, and I want you guys to be there. Would you go? And they're like, yeah, of course we'll go. Frick, who wouldn't go, right? So they get back home. The label basically keeps calling Angelina's. Is like, hey, how's the song? Like, why aren't you in the city? You're supposed to be working on it. And she's like, I am working on it. Okay, bye. And she hangs up. Really funny. So she goes to practice with the family. She goes to go practice, but then Miguel is just like cooking dinner with the grandma and everyone, and the grandma basically forces her to like sit down and like learn how to cook food with them instead of like practicing. And this is basically the moment when her and Miguel really bond. I mean, there's nothing like making food with someone who you might be attracted to or have some sort of crush on, because once you start like cooking together, you get closer together. They're laughing, and it's super duper cute. And then you can see everyone's reaction to seeing them bond, and then they're like, oh, do you see what I see? Like, there's a little something happening here. And it's super duper cute. Everyone notices it, and I was just like, adorable. Freddie Prinze Jr. is so cute. They decide to go, she sits down on the piano with Miguel, and they start working on the song. And she's like, yeah, I usually write all my songs by myself. I've never written with anybody. Sometimes I might write for other people, but I don't really write with anyone. And then he's like, oh my God, I'm the same way. And then at the same time, they both say, yeah, it's very intimate. And they both like look at each other. And that was the moment that sold me. I was like, okay, I'm here for the love. I'm here for the romance between these two. This is too cute. I was like, oh, they're looking at each other. It was like one of those, like, oh, they're looking at each other. Like, this is so cute. The romance in me, the hopeless romantic in me was just scubbling it all up. I loved it. But basically she's like, yeah, when I'm in New York City, I usually like have the lights outside and I can see everything. I get so inspired. So he's just like, okay. So he's like, let's go. We're going to go somewhere. So he takes her basically to this like, looks like a little it's not a market, but it's just a place where there's a lot of trees and everything's like lit up, really pretty. And he takes her there, and they're walking together and, talking, just bonding more and just talking about how it's been really nice to have her here, and how like how she's made his daughter feel really happy, and just really nice things. And then The one thing though I will point out that I didn't really like about the scene was the lighting. I don't know what it was, but they had like these like halos from the lighting. Their lighting, I don't know, the lighting wasn't very good in this scene. So it just looked like they were kind of like floating behind. I don't know. Maybe it was a green screen, maybe that's why it was weird, but it was a little bit odd. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was a bit odd. It was a bit odd. But basically they sit down on this bench and they have a moment together. And I thought they were gonna kiss, but then in that moment she's just like, oh, this is the line. Like I forgot what the line is. It's something about like loving you. Christmas isn't the same without loving you. I forget what it is. Something like, and he's just like, what? And then she's like, that's the line for the song, the chorus. That's what we've been looking about. Like what we've been thinking about. That's what's missing. And basically they come up with the chorus for the song that they've been writing. And they leave. Then there's like a montage of them basically just practicing all night, all that stuff. The next morning, her fake boyfriend shows up, Ricardo, because he finds her through one of the aunts in an Instagram story, and that's how he finds her. So he goes there, and he's just like a complete a-hole, basically, and he insults Miguel by just telling him, like, oh, are you sure, like, you should be writing a song with this guy? Like, he's not even, like, a star, basically, is what he says, and he's just a complete douche. But Angelina does leave with him, and, they both dramatically look at each other in like, she looks back at him, he's looking at her, she gets in the car, she's looking at him, he's looking at her, like, fuck, what's going on? Yeah. And then, guys, we had a fade out to black scene. I have not seen a fade out to black scene in a movie in a very long time. Like, that was, like, a transition that we used to use. So the fact that it's 2022 and we use that, I was like, well, shoot, look at us. Look at us in this film. I think there was like 2 or 3 fade outs of black scenes, and it really brought me back to the 2000s, y'all. But we are forwarding. Some other stuff happens. Not really important. Don't really care about talking about it. Forwarding to the gala. Okay. They pick up Miguel and Christina, and the assistant's like, oh, don't worry. You don't have to be dressed, like we got you covered. Basically saying like, we've got clothes for you to wear where we're going. So don't worry about being dressed already. So they get there. They show them like picking out what they want to wear. And then, guys, one of the best moments, one of the best dresses I have seen on a TV screen and on a Netflix film. Angelina comes down the stairs in this beautiful, like, green, teal, I don't know what kind of color it is. It's a greenish color. Beautiful gown. Like, I was shooketh when she came down. I was like, damn, she looked good. And I was, that's in the moment where I was like, I should probably get to working out because I want to look like that. I mean, obviously, she's like, obviously, we've got very different body types. She's not a curvy person. But my God, that dress, she had like the 2 slits down the middle. I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. Literally how I felt. Literally. I had the biggest woman crush on her in that moment. It was beautiful.
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
But we still don't know where Freddie is. He hasn't shown up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so ready to see him in a tuxedo. He's going to look so cute. And did they deliver? They sure did, because not too soon after, we've got a couple of scenes we're passing along because I don't care. Freddie gets his slow motion walk. Kiss me. Oh, that's the only thing I could think of. Kiss me. As he's walking towards her, but he's not walking down the street, he's just walking in his tuxedo. And I was just like, oh my God. He looks so handsome. He still had it. He still got it. I'm telling you, he's like 47. And I was like, it's the charisma. He's so good. It's the charisma, guys. He is delicious. Delicious. Eventually, they're just talking, and she's just like, oh, I don't get nervous anymore. I get really excited. And he's like, oh, I get really nervous. Like I don't even sing in front of my students. I don't perform in front of my students, etc., etc. And then we get to the end of the performance where she just sang all of her songs is literally like fade in. It's like literally next scene, and she's just like at the piano like this, and then she gets up and she's like, guys, thank you so much for being here. And I was like, wow, they couldn't even show her play on the piano. My God. So she gets up and she's just like, oh, you. She's like, I want to thank you so much for like listening to my music, blah, 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 to give a speech. And then she's like, actually, I have a new song. And the person who I wrote it with is actually here. And she calls him out in front of everyone, puts him on the spot to perform the new song with him, which is Christmas with You. And yeah, she sings the song with him. He's on the piano and she's singing the song. And guys, I will admit, the song was really bad to me at first. I was like, oh my, this is really bad. Like, I was not a fan of it. And then when it was over, and then they played it during the credits, I was singing it, and I was like, oh, fudge. They got me. I guess it is catchy. Because at first I was like, oh my God, this is bad. I mean, guys, it is a bad song. It is bad. But it's still a little catchy, but it is bad. But anyway, obviously everyone in the crowd loves it. The labels, everyone loves it. And they're like, oh my God, like, yes. Miguel and Angelina leave, and they're backstage, or not backstage, they're just like walking outside, and they're like super excited, and they're like, oh my God, you did that. He's like, I know I did that. And they're like hugging, and they're so excited, and so much is going on. And then the dramatics, because Netflix delivered with the dramatics. You have the label person, you have Ricardo, you have all these people grabbing her, and then he gets separated. He gets separated from her, and then it's all sad because he's been separated, and the daughter's so sad because they've been, like, ignored, I guess. And then she, like, Angelina's trying to find them and look for them, and then, like, all this stuff is going on, and then Miguel and Christina leave. And the label guy, Barry, tells her, hey, we want you to perform your new song on SNL this weekend, which originally was going to be going to another girl who I didn't talk about before, but basically the girl that she was getting replaced with at the photo shoot from the beginning of the film. They were going to make her do SNL and not Angelina. But then now, because they liked the song so much, they were like, oh, we're just going to move her to the side. We're going to put Angelina back in the forefront. And she's like, oh, what about, her? And then the Barry guy's like, oh, it's fine. It's already taken care of. So she doesn't know what to say. She basically walks out. So she runs after Miguel and his daughter, and she basically tells him, oh my God, I got SNL, and they want us to perform. And he's like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then she's like, yeah, I want you to perform as my pianist. And he's just like, oh, as your pianist. And like you could see in his face that he got like really sad, because it was kind of like he was hoping that it was going to be like much more than just a pianist in that moment. And then he's like, oh, sorry, like, I can't, like, I have plans. And then he looks at his daughter, or in that direction of his daughter, and it's because the quinceañera is next Saturday, so obviously he can't go. And then she remembers, she's like, oh my God, you're right, I was supposed to be there, you're right. And then he's just like, it's okay, like, she'll understand. And then she's just like, oh, well, like, come after, like, like, this song could be really big. It could be big for us. Like, we can write more together and go to the studio, and maybe we can go on tour. And he's just like, go on tour? He's just like, whoa. He's just like, I can't just pick up my life and leave. Like, I have a real life. I have a daughter. Like, I can't just leave. And then he asks her, he's like, was this whole weekend just about a song? Like, was that it? Basically being like, are you sure that there wasn't any other, like, are you sure it's not, like, that there was feelings between us? Because that's what I was feeling. That's basically what he's saying. He's like, there was feelings here. It's not just about the song. Was it? And then, and then we continue into what I like to call Miguel's monologue, because I rewinded this like 3 times because I was like, well done, Netflix. Well done with this monologue. I'm in it. You got me. Romance, you got me. So he tells her like how is, having an image worth anything if you're not living your life? You need to take risks. And she tells him, listen, like, and you could just tell in her face, like, she just doesn't know what to do. Like, she's just like, she's very torn at this moment. And in that moment, because she's thinking about her brand and how more important that is, she's just basically shuts him down and just says, look, this was just business. We agreed that this was just business, and like, that's what it was going to be. And he says, oh, and I wrote it down. He says, he spent years of his life missing out on what she gave him in just one night because he was scared to take a risk. And that he never thought he would let someone else in until her, basically, until she came around. And he just declares the truth. He says, it's never been about just the song for him. It was always about her. It was always her. I was like, oh my God. Oh, my heart. Oh. In this monologue, I knew this movie had me because I was just like, oh my God. I loved it. It was straight out of a 90s freaking rom-com, and I loved every second of it. Thank you, Freddie Prinze Jr., for enlightening us. Thank you. And he continues to say, you know, I think you feel the same way. And she just says, I can't. And he says, you can't or you won't. And she doesn't answer. She's just left speechless. And he just takes that as like, okay, then I'm leaving. And he says, okay, goodbye. And he leaves. And then we have the Netflix montage, because it is I mean, not just Netflix, most rom-coms, but like Netflix lately just loves to do the montage of when they don't get together and they're separated and they're just thinking about all the times that they had together. And there's this music playing, and then they just show them like frustrated, like they can't write music. He can't write any new songs. She can't write any new songs, and it's all dramatic, and I love it. It's romantic gold. Romantic gold. But I did want to talk about this, and it's because it's the next scene. Angelina's practicing for SNL, and the girl who was supposed to be singing is like, hey, like, I'm just here to, like, you know, watch, like, I'm totally okay with you taking over. And it showed about, you know, in general, this whole movie really focused a lot on the competition of women within the industry, and just in industry in general, whether it be the just Hollywood industry in general, I would say, you know, about how they always like to, you know, pit women against each other. And it's not always about pitting women against each other. You know, there's so much more. You know, why can't we support women? Why can't we like cheer on women? Like, that is what we're supposed to be doing. And this industry really tries to, and I don't like, now it's not as bad as it used to be, but like, if you think of the 90s or 2000s, like, it was all about pitting women against each other and not just cheering each other on and being supportive of their wins. It was always about like, why didn't I, like I must not be good enough, like, why are they getting it? And we all suffer from that because, you know, it's a hard thing. But this movie really dives into that, and I actually really genuinely enjoyed that little subtopic about cheering each other on and supporting each other in this industry. So thank you for Netflix for bringing that up. But in that whole conversation, basically, she has this conversation with the other girl, and she basically realizes that she's in love with Miguel, and she cannot perform at the SNL skit, which obviously we all knew she wasn't going to do. She realizes that home is where the heart is. And where's home? Somewhere in New York City. I don't know exactly where. I think maybe they live in Jersey. I'm not sure. They're in a very suburban area. But yeah, so she goes back. She ends up, she's like, I'm gonna leave. Then we move over to the quinceañera day. Christina's in her big quinceañera outfit. They wear these huge outfits, like crazy princess outfits. And yeah, they come out, they dance, they do a father-daughter dance. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I teared up. Just a little bit, I teared up. I said, oh God, how did this movie get me? I'm tearing up at Freddie Prinze Jr. dancing with his daughter. And I think it's just because Freddie Prinze Jr. just had my heart in this film. I just wanted him to be happy so badly. And when he's dancing with his daughter, it was just so cute and so, like, touching and warm. And I was like, oh, I just teared up a little bit. It reminded me of me, like, dancing with my dad on, like, my wedding day, and how that's really gonna, like, get me. But no surprise, Angelina shows up to the quince, and she shows up dancing, like, oh yeah, dancing, and then they dance to the song that they were supposed to do for the quinceañera. Everyone's dancing, and it's really cute, and everyone's really, really happy. And then I will say, this was the easiest makeup I have ever seen, and I think it's because we already had the dramatic monologue, but this one didn't really have, like, I did wish that this makeup had a little bit more of like from her saying like, you were right. It wasn't about the song. It was about you, and I was wrong for not telling you. Like, I was just scared to take risks. I was too worried about my image. You know, like things like that. But it didn't go that stereotypical way, but I actually would have liked it because that's what movies are to me. Like, I wanted to stay like that. I love that. Instead, she was just like, yeah, like it was kind of like a funny interaction. It was kind of like, oh, I thought you were going to be on SNL. And she's like, no. She's like, I had other plans. And he's like, oh, really? Does it involve, like, getting a pianist? And she's like, no. She's like, I forget what she says, but she just basically like kind of blows it off and is just like, yeah, no, we'll worry about the rest later. He's just like, I just want to be here. And then he's like, oh, do you have plans after? And she's like, oh, you mean Christmas with you? I said, y'all did that. You did that. So yeah, and then they kiss. It was a cute little kiss. And then they spend Christmas together that night with the family, and everyone's with their Christmas outfits and opening gifts, and end of movie. That is the end of the movie. Okay, so let's get into my review of this film. So my thoughts. So I will say that this movie was, and it's kind of like what I talked about in the beginning, I did think this movie was actually a very cute film for Netflix. I genuinely like enjoyed it. I enjoyed this quite a lot, I will say. Freddie Prinze Jr., like I've been saying this whole video, really, really still has it, even at like 47 years old. I think that's how old he is. I was like in awe of him the whole time. I was like, oh my God, he's so old, and yet I'm still like, oh. Like, I still saw Zach from She's All That, even though he's 47. And that's what I loved about it. It was like his faces, like his smile. Anytime he was on screen, I just felt so warm and so like, oh, I want him to be happy. I want him to be happy. And that is honestly all you could ever ask for. Am I right? But the movie did have, you know, obviously infused Latin culture. They spoke Spanish, which, by the way, if you did not know, Freddie Prinze Jr. is somewhere in his line of family members. He has Puerto Rican, he's a Puerto Rican bloodline, and he does fluently speak Spanish. So, yay to Freddie Prinze Jr. Obviously, Aimee Garcia is Latin as well, and she does speak Spanish throughout the film. I did love that. I did love hearing the Spanish music. I loved that they had, you know, them, you know, cooking Spanish, Latin food. Like, I loved this, the culture aspect in the film. I loved the cheesiness of this film. Like I said, I could not stand the fake pretending of the musician stuff, but here we are. I don't know. I mean, this could have been anything else. Like, they could have made her an actor or something instead of like a singer, because then they had to make him a musician, but he's not a musician. So because he's not a musician, it kind of like, I felt that kind of faulted at it. Like, I love Freddie Prinze, but at the same time, because he wasn't actually singing or wasn't actually a musician, it kind of took me out of it a little bit more. I think I would have liked it even more. I would like this film more if he was actually a musician and they showed them actually making music and actually singing and a guitar and really have them connect on that. But because it was like fake pretending we're making music, it kind of took me out of it. I also did really enjoy the highlight of women in this industry and how they're pitted against how they're pitted against each other, and how it shouldn't be like that. It should be about cheering them on and being in their corner. All in all, fun, cute film. I wish there was more music. They didn't play too much music. It was mostly like kind of like her music, and her music wasn't the best, even though, like, I will say that damn song really grew on me by the end of it. But yeah, I'm gonna give this Christmas movie 4 mistletoes out of 5. Because Freddie Prinze Jr. he has my heart. Every time he smiles, he had my heart. So because of that, I'm giving this film I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Because I think he did a really good job with what he had, for Netflix. I mean, did these two have like the best chemistry in the world? No. Did he look a little bit too old for her? Yes, but I still wanted him to be really happy, and that means that the movie got me. Like, I was never, like, out of it. I still was like, oh man, I hope they get together. I hope he falls in love with her. I want to see him fall in love. And that's what romantic movies should do for me, in my opinion. But guys, have you watched Christmas with You? I think is it called Christmas with You? Yeah, Christmas with You. That is my review of Christmas with You. If you liked this movie, let me know in a comment below what you would score it out of 5. And guys, if this is your first time here and you enjoyed this romantic comedy film review and recap, please consider subscribing. It could be a really good time because I'm going to be doing it for the whole month and possibly forever because I absolutely love these kind of films. It is what I breathe. I love the romance. I love it. But anyway, guys, I will see you guys next time. Bye.